Why does a $4,000 camera give you images that look like they were taken with a smartphone? There are 6 invisible factors that are stealing details, adding noise, and destroying the image quality of every single image that you take. I'm going to prove to you that 90% of the poor image quality that you get has nothing to do with the camera you use, but with critical mistakes that you're making right now. And the good news is that most of these are free to fix. So let's start with the first one. Camera sensors are hungry for light, requiring light that reflects off the subject to capture that contrast and color, and this results in details. So shooting in poor or very dull and flat lighting equals flat images that lack details, no matter which camera and lens you have. So the biggest change you can make is to use the morning or evening light, or even nice ambient light coming from a slightly overcast sky, making it a natural diffuser. So good light brings your images to life with color, details, and contrast. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. The lens is one of the most significant factors of image quality. For wildlife photography, you need enough focal length to isolate the subject. Using older, low-quality lenses, especially combined with teleconverters, will result in photos that are soft and not of great image quality. Now, you should invest in a high-quality lens and upgrade the lens before the camera body. It means so much more for the overall image quality. Now, you don't necessarily need the expensive and heavy prime lenses. This depends on your subject. Modern mid-range telephoto and zoom lenses actually offers amazing sharpness and image quality. Now, this next factor is one of the biggest when talking about image quality. If you have to crop your image heavily because the subject is tiny in the frame, your photo will always lack that fine fur and feather details, and the overall quality will suffer no matter the gear. Smaller subject equals capturing less details. So let's get really practical here. I have 2 images of a duck swimming towards me, and here we can really see what it matters to the image quality when you have to crop in. So the first one, it's still far away, and as you can see, we had ISO 360. We would have to crop this image to be able to compare it with this one, where it's much closer to the camera, and this one is taken at ISO 2000. First, we have to get them more or less the same size. And for the first image, that would mean cropping in quite a lot. So the difference is striking. With more than double the amount of pixels for your subject, you beat even shooting with a much lower ISO. You must prioritize getting the subject big enough in the frame, and you can do that by either having enough focal length, like at least 400mm on a full frame camera body. But you could also get physical closer, and this requires a little bit of practice by either using hides or camouflage, or you could just find tame subjects to photograph. By getting closer, you allocate more pixels to the subject, and this gives you a much better level of details. Look at this water rail. It was taken from within 3 or 4 meters. It could barely fit in the frame, but look at the details. The quality is also determined by your choice in aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. You might get into the trap of using a high ISO because your sensor can handle it better, but it always reduces contrast, color, and details. So when you shoot at a higher ISO, it's not only noise that creeps in, it's also the dynamic range of the camera that drops significantly. So many cameras are sold on having a huge dynamic range of like 12 stops or something like that. That's the amount of stops that they can capture between dark shadows and the bright highlights. But when you raise the ISO, it tells a completely different story across almost every brand. At ISO 6400, you likely have only half the amount of dynamic range that you had from using the lowest or the base ISO of the camera. And that's the actual reason why high ISO leads to lower contrast. Another mistake is to shoot a little bit too dark, like underexposing your images, and then you're forced to lift or increase the shadows in post-processing. And this introduces significant noise. If you instead shoot too bright, like overexposing, you blow out the details in the highlights, and you can't really recover those. So aim to get your exposure correct in the camera. Now, new sensors are highly beneficial in shooting in poor light conditions. They offer better ISO performance and allow you to take usable shots at ISO 6400 or higher. It also comes with an increased dynamic range, making it less necessary for you to recover lost highlights or lifting the shadows. Now, older cameras that struggle with using high ISO value may force you to use a slower shutter speed, and as a result of that, you might come home with soft or blurry photos. Now, no matter the camera, in poor light conditions, try to experiment with using a bit slower shutter speed than you normally would, as this enables you to capture images at a lower ISO value, and this will allow you to get home with the best possible level of details. So first capture a safe shot at a high ISO and then gradually try to decrease the shutter speed to improve the image quality you get as much as possible. Now this ensures that you have something to work with when you get home at the computer. Post-processing is the final step in your digital workflow. A raw image straight from the camera is flat, it lacks colors, and it lacks crucial contrast. If you skip processing your image, you let the camera apply the white balance and the sharpening and giving up control of the final look. Remember, raw images are raw. They're meant to be processed, so you get the most data to work with to enhance the image quality. I recommend that you give them the attention they deserve by adjusting the exposure, highlight, colors, and contrast, or even fine-tuning it in something like Photoshop to make it really pop. And this is not for saving bad images, it is making good images better. So we've talked a lot about getting a good image quality, like an image that's full of details and have a high resolution, but don't get so focused on image details that you forget the bigger picture, like showing the habitat or the story, the subject's behavior. This should actually come before the technical image quality. Aim for both story and image quality, but personally, if I can't get both, I would rather have an interesting image that lacks a bit on the image quality. Now remember to try this out for yourself, and I'm sure that your images will continue improving and becoming better and better. And do remember to subscribe to Adorama TV for thousands of great videos. That's all I have for you today. See you in the next one.